like to do a little presentation here on on-site and off-site blind spots. So seeing the big picture. A blind spot in a vehicle is an area around the vehicle that cannot be directly observed by a driver while at the controls. Under existing circumstances, blind spots can be caused by a plethora of different things like the height of the driver, the windshield and dashboard reflections, light coming through the roof, and other automobile and power mobile equipment design factors, like the location of safety bars, booms, cages, and mirror placements. Also, A-pillar dimensions. Just a little explanation on A-pillars. They're the frame uprights located around the glass and add structural integrity to the vehicle and the roof system. When it comes to blind spots, there's always an area behind any vehicle where the driver just can't see what's there. The bigger the vehicle, the bigger the blind spot. Toddlers are just the right size to hide in a pickup or SUV's blind spot. The blind spot on an RV or tractor trailer can actually hide your crossover. You should always check behind any vehicle before getting in and backing up. And if you sit in the vehicle for a few minutes before backing up, it's best to get out and check again, especially if you're pulling out into a neighborhood driveway. No precaution is too extreme if it saves the life of a child. For the past 15 years, various car makers have been offering blind spot detection systems for their cars' side mirrors. Often complex, these systems employ cameras or radar to scan the adjoining lanes for vehicles that may have disappeared from your view. The Society of Automotive Engineers, the SAE, published a paper in 1995 suggesting how outside mirrors can be adjusted to eliminate blind spots. The paper advocates adjusting the mirrors so far outward that the viewing angle of the side mirror is just overlaps that of the cabin's rearview mirror. This can be disorienting for drivers used to seeing the flanks of their own car in the side mirrors, but when correctly positioned, the mirrors negate a car's blind spots. This can eliminate the need to glance over your shoulder and safely change lanes, as well as the need for expensive blind spot warning system. The only problem is getting used to the SAE recommended mirror position. The cabin's rearview mirror is used to keep an eye on what is coming up from behind, while the outside mirrors reflect the area outside the view of the inside rearview mirror. Those who have switched the SAE's approach swear by it. However, some drivers can't adjust to not using the outside mirrors to see directly behind the car and miss being able to see their own car in the side mirrors. When moving through the hierarchy controls, an approach such as this may aid the vehicle in already engineered blind spot detection system. Let's look at the diagram for a better understanding. When we look at the photo on the side deck, figure 1 shows the adjusted mirror that no longer shows the driver's blue car in view. Adjusted in the traditional manner, shown in figure 2, where you can see the driver's blue car, the red car disappears. If you look in figure 4, the mirror is pointed towards the blind spot. The outside mirror shows the green car as soon as it leaves the inside mirror, shown in figure 3. In the more traditional adjustment shown in figure 5, the outside mirror reflects some of what is also in the inside mirror, shown in figure 3. I hope everyone is able to follow along on that. In this demonstration, a man on the passenger side is approximately 35 feet from the vehicle. The blue bin is directly outside the passenger side door, and the yellow bin is approximately 10 feet from the door. The bin height information is important for the next few slides. As you can see inside the vehicle, from where the driver is seated, which is approximately 40 feet from the man outside the passenger side door, is completely hidden from view by the side mirror when looking 90 degrees outside the vehicle. You can also notice that both bins are outside of view. This type of blind spot can cause many incidents after getting in your vehicle after it being parked. Either something is placed outside your vehicle or you forgot about the item when you've parked beside completely. Either way, it's imperative to conduct a walk around before traveling and be aware of this type of blind spot. Here's another scenario using the same bins, but staggered in front of the passenger side wheel well. The man outside the vehicle is in the crouched position at a 45-degree angle to the truck. Here's your view from the inside. The bins have completely disappeared, and you can just make out the body of the man. Keeping in mind, this is a considerable distance. Well, almost all vehicles have blind spots. Big rigs and semi-trucks are perhaps the most notorious for the size as well as the scope of the blind spots. Becoming educated on blind spots as well as being generally aware is crucial for overall driving safety. A good rule of thumb is to look in the trucker's mirror, and if you cannot see the driver's face and eyes, then they cannot see you either. And you may be, in fact, traveling in the trucker's blind spot. Even if you can see the driver, still do not assume that they see you. So we're going to go through some zones here. There's the front nose zone. This zone is located directly in the front of the cab of the truck. The area covers about 10 car lengths from the front of the cab. Truckers sit high up in comparison to other vehicles. This creates an inability to see the car directly in front of them. When passing, allow enough time to make it past the front nose zone before getting back in front of the truck. The right side nose zone. This zone is located behind the cab and to the right and is one of the biggest blind spots. When following on a multi-lane highway, allow at least one car length from the back of the truck's cargo. When passing, try to avoid staying in the no zone area. Left side no zone. This zone is located behind the cab and to the left and is about half the size of the right no zone. If you're following in a multi-lane highway, allow at least one car length from the back of the truck's cargo. When passing, try to avoid staying in the no zone area. So the back no zone. This zone is located directly behind the trailer or cargo that a truck is carrying. The cab has no rear view mirror, so there's no way to see if someone is coming. It is tailgating directly behind them, and if ever had to stop immediately, this is one of the biggest blind spots on a truck. Again, a good preventative measure is to keep in mind that if you cannot see the trucker's face through the side or rear view mirror, they cannot see you. We're back into motorcycle season, and a motorcycle's blind spot area will vary depending on the motorcycle and the type of mirrors used. Some motorcyclists may have a blind spot mirrors fitted to aid in reducing the blind area. In general, however, most motorcycles will have blind spots to the sides and rear as indicated in the red shaded areas in the diagram. A combination of mirror checks and blind spot checks should always be performed so you know exactly what's going on behind you. Check blind spots, not only for your own safety, but the other road users before you signal or change direction. Although all drivers have the requirements to be cautious, riders must take extra steps to ensure their own safety. If a motorcyclist is involved in an accident, the likelihood is that his or her injuries will be much more serious. Some ways that motorcyclists can reduce the likelihood of being involved in a blind spot accident include: avoid riding in blind spots. This is the best way to avoid a blind spot accident. Ride in front or behind a vehicle rather than to the side of the vehicle. A motorist blind spots included to the left and right rear of the vehicle. Try to stay out of these locations as much as possible. Understanding other drivers' mirror placement is important. Drive defensively. Constantly scan the area in front of you, back off to give yourself some extra space, and try to anticipate the actions of other motorists. Knowing who is in your zones around your vehicle at all times will make it much easier to react to an emergency situation, and also try to always leave yourself an open zone around you if possible to quickly move into if needed. Back off. Leave at least 20 feet between you and other motorists so that you have time to react. Wear brightly colored clothing. Make yourself more visible by wearing brightly colored or fluorescent clothing. Keep your headlights on. Improve visibility by using your headlights even when it's daytime and sunny. And pass a vehicle quickly. If you have to pass, do so quickly so you're out of the blind spot as fast as possible. In Saskatchewan, this is a very common sight that we all have encountered at some point. With the long weekend approaching and seeding starting in Saskatchewan at the end of April until the middle of May, the highways may see some heavy equipment. Remember to be mindful around slow-moving farm equipment. Keep your distance until it's safe to pass. Different pieces of equipment have different blind spots, and many of them are very large. On highways, slow behind the machinery first before passing, and assess brake lights, signal lights, pilot truck movements, blind spots, etc. When behind large machinery on the highway, your view of oncoming traffic will also be greatly reduced. Assess the situation, give the other driver time to see you, and when safe to do so, make your pass. According to Tyler McCurchie, manager of media relations for SGI, there have been an average of about 250 to 300 collisions every May long in Saskatchewan over the past 3 years. In fact, long weekend collisions have resulted in 15 people dying and another 500 people injured each year. Even with the restrictions on available camping sites in Saskatchewan, there will still be many campers, boats, and RVs traveling on the highway and cities in the upcoming weeks and months. Vehicles must be equipped with proper mirrors to ensure the line of sight between them when hauling. However, depending on the size of equipment being hauled, there are still many sight issues created. Ensure you keep a safe distance away. If you must pass, keep in mind the length of the vehicle and the equipment being hauled. The larger the equipment, the larger the blind spot, and the longer it'll take you to pass. Every time we get in our vehicle, whether large or small, lies inherent risks of a collision. Managing the risk involves ensuring your vehicle is working properly, that you are trained and qualified, and you're in good mental and physical shape to operate the vehicle. Having said that, there are other things we can do to mitigate blind spots when operating a motor vehicle. While there's no cure-all to blind spots, there are methods for driving in a way that minimize potential accidents and maximizes driver range of vision. Here are some ways to avoid blind spots. Adjust the rear view mirror. Position your mirror so that it covers your straight back vision. Do not attempt to sit unnaturally or adjust to see better out of the mirror. Adjust the rear view mirror to how you naturally sit. Adjust driver's side mirror. Lean your head towards the driver's side mirror until almost touching the door glass. Once there, adjust your left side mirror so you can see the left side of your car partially. Adjust passenger side mirror. Lean your head towards the center of the car. Once there, adjust your right side mirror so you can see the right side of your car partially. Test your visibility when driving. When you're in a multi-lane traffic, pay attention to the cars passing you on either side and note where you can see them and where you cannot. Adjust your mirrors accordingly when safe to do so. You should also be looking over your shoulder before changing lanes or merging with traffic. Using your blinker so that other motorists can anticipate your actions and staying alert and aware of other motorists and motorcyclists that travel in your blind spots. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about on-site blind spots. Studies have confirmed that highway and street construction workers are at significant risk of fatal or serious non-fatal injuries while working in or around street, highway, construction job sites. The hazard has been clearly defined as the risk of injury from movement of construction vehicles and equipment within the work zones, as well as from passing motor vehicle traffic. In analyzing the data collected on fatalities and serious non-fatal injuries, researchers from the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, the NIOSH, have concluded that traffic control devices and job site management techniques alone will not completely eliminate the risk to workers. Furthermore, collision occurrences have been attributed in part to limited visibility around the equipment. Therefore, new technology is needed to help detect the presence of people in the direct path of construction equipment and then warn the operator of the impeding collision. In order to better help direct the development of the new technology, it is important to understand where current visibility limitations are around typical construction equipment. With this information, researchers can better perform worker exposure assessments across the different types and makes of construction equipment. Worker exposure data can then be used to help the appropriate technologies such as radar systems, radio signal detection systems, etc., that can help minimize the risk to workers. However, we must remember that not all power mobile equipment is fitted with such technology, so it's important to understand what operators can and cannot see. As you can see in this picture of a grader, and the grader, if you look at the very innermost picture of this diagram, you'll see the outline of the grader, and it centers around the operator's view. It has a very large mirror visibility out the back end of the machine. Having said that, due to the way the machine is shaped to perform its job, there's a very extended blind spot out the front of the machine, as well as 30 degrees towards the back of each side of the cabs. Each grader is different, although they look very similar. A grader with a 900 millimeter plane will have a much different field of view than one with a 1500 millimeter plane. Here's a shot from the inside of the grader. This shows the limited view of any obstructions out the front of the cab, as well as the cabin instrument panel that take up much of the vision. This picture demonstrates the visual challenges of being in an excavator. As you can see in the picture, the entire right side, so the bucket arm side, is a giant blind area, noted in gray. Even the open side to the left has an obstructed view of 10 meters and the front of the cab for 5 meters. Here's the view from inside the cab with the arm of the excavator tucked in. You can see between the arm and the counterweight how obstructed the view is. Here we have the front end loader with a push blade on the back. The blind spots within the cab on a front end loader are quite large. Out the front, certain areas extend far past the 5 meter blind spot in this graph. This is also dependent whether the bucket is up or down and the amount of material that's in the bucket. The sides and back have considerable blind spots, as well as due to rollover protection bars and the engine. This is a picture inside a compact wheel loader. As you can see in front of the bucket, there's a very large blind spot for anything that may be smaller than the bucket itself. The field of vision above the bucket is good. However, the elevation of the bucket is changed, so does the blind spot. In this graph, you can see the similarities of the blind areas with the dozer are close to that in the loader. The big difference is the large blind spot over the left shoulder rear of the dozer in this model. This is due to the operator and where they sit. On this specified model of dozer, the driver's view is obstructed by rollover protection and the pillars located inside the cab. There's a lot going on in the cabs of machinery. The difficulty of blind spots and the active construction sites with many moving parts and obstructions such as material storage, travelways, site infrastructure, other equipment, and workers in the area make visibility and communication essential. Skid steers are generally one piece of power mobile equipment that spends the most time on any given commercial site. There are many different attachments and sizes that offer different blind spots. However, one thing is usually the same when it comes to every skid steer, and that's the blind spot behind the machine. Due to the rollover protection, counterweight, engine, and size of the machine cab, it's very difficult to see behind a skid steer. Even when the operator stops to look behind, much like the loader, the blind spot in front changes when the bucket is lifted or lowered. The available view in front will be much different if the operator has a bucket on versus an auger. On the left is the picture out the front of the compact skid steer, and you can see the field of vision is rather limited. When the arms are up, even slightly, where the bucket is not obstructing the view of the front, a major blind spot is created out the sides of the arms holding the bucket. The picture on the right is a larger model of skid steer shot from the front of the cab. You can see there's a very little ability to see out the back of the skid steer. The window directly behind you serves as an escape hatch in case you're pinned in the machine from the front. This window offers a very limited view. The ability to effectively see can also be inhibited by dirty glass, and all machine glass should be cleaned to maintain a clear view. The telehandler's blind spot is much like that of an excavator. The right side of the operator's field of vision is limited due to the telescoping arm of the machine. The blind spot behind the machine is also fairly large at almost 50 feet. This is due not only to the arm that's mounted at the rear. Like all equipment, some models are different, and the arm is mounted directly at the back and extends over the cab instead of beside it. As you can see, the boom inside the cab, even when down, restricts all view of the ground outside the right side of the telehandler. The Occupational Health and Safety Regulations is very specific when it comes to training of workers in Section 19 and what employees are to be trained in regarding power mobile equipment in Sections 154 and Table 14.1. When operating equipment, it's imperative that operators are trained in the blind spots of each piece of equipment and have time to learn how different operations and environments can change their field of view. Using signalers whenever possible to direct the movement of operators will help avoid an incident. Remember, communication is key. Having everyone on site wear high-vis clothing is not only a good practice, but is the law. And never assume that you have been seen. Never try to sneak past a piece of equipment that is running, as a lot of them move very quickly and without warning. Whether you are operating or not, make eye contact and using hand signals with workers passing by equipment is a vital form of nonverbal communication used to keep everyone safer on site. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions about this or any other safety-related topics, please don't hesitate to contact an SCSA safety advisor. Thanks.